And good afternoon, race fans. We welcome you here to the 15th race of the season, Season 4 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series. Debut race here today. Normally, in the last 3 seasons, we've gone to the Pensacola road course, but a new road course takes its place here and makes its very first appearance in a Duracell Cup Series chartered main event. This is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course configuration as we get ready for the Indianapolis Grand Prix here today. 35 laps of racing, but the question is, will we end up seeing a wreckfest? Will we see a fuel strategy race? We don't know. We had 2 past seasons last year to go off of the Pensacola road course race, but here today, we're kind of flying blind. It's over these drivers, and we kind of got a pretty good view of what these drivers are going to have to tackle in the non-charter qualifying session early today. We saw Rob Evans go to victory lane, but he's going to be starting towards the back, rolling off from the 37th position. We're going to have to see about those non-charter drivers, those 6 that made it here into the main event. Will they have enough time through either working their way up on long green flag run or through pit strategy of getting themselves up here inside of the top 10, maybe even being able to snag for what would be for every single one of them their first Duracell Cup Series win. Now, a driver that already got his first Duracell Cup Series win, and that was back at Darlington Raceway, is J Deaver. He lines up as the pole sitter for today's race. Indianapolis, very much like Watkins Glen, where the first corner is a right-hander, so the driver that starts in the pole actually starts on what would normally be considered the outside line, driver's right. Then it will be Jordan Lopez, who's going to be in the second position. Jordan Lopez, the defending champion, is still looking for his first trip to victory lane, though he has been very consistent this season and subsequently finds himself 5th in points. Matthew Rodriguez, a long winless streak for that 57. He's trying to find victory lane for the first time since all the way back in Season 1 at Arizona. He'll roll off 3rd alongside of J Llamas. Llamas has not been to victory lane yet this year. He won last season, however. And Phil Parker is another driver who's looking for his first career win. I believe he's the last chartered driver that we have that is still looking for his first trip to victory lane in a Duracell Cup Series race. But enough talk. Down we go to pit road. The Grand Marshal is ready to give us those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Take a look at the description below for the full starting lineup for this evening's event, as the pace car leads the field off of pit road. If you didn't notice, in the non-charter qualifying session, I am as familiar with the Indianapolis road course configuration as a duck is with a cheese grater. I don't know how that even applies, but there you go. So, needless to say, I'm not really all that familiar with it. This time here for this chartered race, though, I made sure that I actually have a track map in front of me, so I will be able to accurately call in what portion of the track these battles we will subsequently see are taking place. Point standings coming into this race. Dylan Young is your points leader, 28 points now over second place Jack Mitchell, who jumped up 4 spots in the standings after last week's race at Charlotte. Jesse Turner is 3rd in the standings. James Qualls now up to 4th. Jordan Lopez, as we mentioned, is 5th. Now 2-time winner Mitchell Collins, after getting his second win of the season last week, he is 6th. Benny Watson dropped from 2nd to 7th. Carson Gums now up to 8th. J Deaver, the pole sitter, is in 9th. And Adam Garcia completes the top 10. We still don't have any of our former winners down near the danger zone of 30th in the standings. The furthest down right now is K Batson. He's 22nd in points, and right now holds about a 40-point lead between himself and that 30th in the standings cut line. Chris Dollerton's the only driver to win outside of the top 30. Failed to make the race here. Still has to make 3 more main event starts for his non-charter win back at Manassas to count towards a spot in the playoffs. Turn 12, here's turn 13, and into turn 14 before coming onto the front straightaway. Just a tick under 2.5 miles, 14 corners, and 35 laps of racing. J Deaver will get the first Duracell Cup Series Indy Grand Prix underway. Green flags in the air, let's roll. Turn 1's going to be a lot of fun here. Who makes the dive move? It's Phil Parker to the inside of Matthew Rodriguez for 2nd. Jordan Lopez, a part of that 3-wide situation as well, makes contact with Matthew Rodriguez, who then gets hit by William Brock. Is that going to bring out a yellow? It will not. No caution. And look at the damage on that 88 of William Brock, who got into the back of the spinning Matthew Rodriguez. And he's undoubtedly going to have to come down pit road. Two drivers that have really had a tough start to their regular season. Matthew Rodriguez 30th in points, William Brock 33rd. And both of them with early damage after a 3-wide situation that carried from turn 1 over to turn 2. And you can see here last week's winner, Mitchell Collins, having a little bit of difficulty getting around the wounded 57. V Almariego trying to do the same, and he almost got turned off the nose of two-time winner T Wright. Cody Llamas, who started from the outside of row 2, he's dropped back quite a bit, probably due to that stack up. As there you see the 88 of William Brock, he is indeed coming to pit road. What about the 57 of Matthew Rodriguez? He is staying out, so I guess the rear end damage not going to affect him enough that he's going to give up all that track position to pit, but that was not what William Brock needed to start out this race, that is for sure, as Phil Parker, after that 3-wide move, got around not only Matthew Rodriguez and Jordan Lopes, but also race leader Cole Deaver, and leads the first lap of this race. Deaver back to second. Jacob Thibodeaux is now up in third place. Thibodeaux is 12th in points coming into today's event. And Benny Watson, who, if I'm not mistaken, has finished last in 2 of the last 4 races, including last week. Right now, he's currently holding the 4th spot over Adam Garcia, so certainly for Benny Watson, he is looking to bounce back here. Went to victory lane last season at Talladega Superspeedway, but that was during the playoffs. Even though he was the most consistent driver during the regular season, I think he was the points leader at the end of the regular season, but since he didn't have a win and all 16 spots had been taken by previous race winners, Benny Watson did not compete for the championship. Phil Parker into turn 11. We've seen quite a number of first-time winners in the past 2 seasons, and 2 of them this year. Adam Garcia getting his first career win back at Michigan, and then of course Cole Deaver getting his at Darlington. So could Phil Parker be the third? We'll have to wait and see. Thought I saw another car coming down pit road, but I guess not. As a battle is on for the 6th position, J Millz being tracked down by Carson Gum. And it's interesting, I looked at some of the drivers that made it into the main event through the non-charter qualifying session. One of them was Justin Dearborn, who drives the 07 for Millz Motorsports. So I almost wondered if maybe he gave his team owner a little bit of advice. You got Carson Gum there in the 19. He's a teammate to Seth Cole, who made it into this race. You have to wonder how much passing of information took place from some of the non-charter teammates to the charter teammates. Of course, we've only run one other road course race here this season. That was back at Pucaca, and it was a Pigeon Racing driver that won that one, Charles Belding. Jordan Lopes, much like Cody Llamas, both of them had the misfortune of being on the outside of the 2 front rows, and so they have fallen back to 8th and 11th. A lot of drivers taking them 3 wide going into the first couple of corners. Matt Haas right now in 9th place, and I would have to look back. Oh, for some reason I thought that Matt Haas had a road course win, but actually I might be thinking of his then teammate Diego Yepes back at Lime Rock. I think that was all the way back in season 1. Why am I thinking back to that? There's Mitchell Collins right now in the 10th position, coming off his very first multi-win season. Took a checkered flag earlier on in the year at Texas, and then followed it up with a win last week at Charlotte. It's now Matthew Rodriguez in the 57. You saw back there is coming to pit road. So apparently that rear end damage just too much. As Jordan Lopes looking for a position on Carson Gum. That would be for 7th, and he will complete the pass. Meanwhile, Mitchell Collins just got around Matt Haas for 9th. Turn 1, I think, really is going to be the main passing zone of today's race. We saw it in the non-charter event earlier on today, and I think we're seeing it again here as V Almariego trying to get to Cody Lamas' back bumper. That would be for 11th. J Gardner right there trying to close in as well. There's Charles Belding. I was wondering where he was. The only other driver this season that has a road course win. Right now, he is currently scored in the 16th spot. And there's your points leader right there behind him in 17th, Dylan Young. Last week, Dylan Young finished very well at Charlotte. Other drivers that were trying to catch him for the points lead, however, did not. And that's why Dylan Young comes into this race with a 28-point lead. And of course, Dylan Young already has been to victory lane this season back at Atlanta. And so he is now eyeing that regular season championship, which gives you 15 bonus points in the first round of the playoffs. Charles Sandfer right behind him. Sandfer had a good run at Charlotte last week, jumped up 4 spots in the standings from 29th to 25th. Right now he's in 18th. Cole Baker right there in 19th. And Zach Rogers still trying to get out of the cellar, which for the charter drivers is 36th in points, because 36 drivers have charters this year. Dylan Young, will he make a move here on Charles Belding for position? Yes, he will. There's a move further up being made. Wow, Dylan getting a little loose there, heading down towards the inside line of turn 1. But it looks like he will complete the pass around Charles Belding. The other pass that took place, I believe, was T Wright getting around J Gardner. That would be for 13th place, and now Gardner's under fire from his teammate, the former champion, R Acosta. A lot of drivers struggling here this season that really did well, not only last year, but in previous years, and it's really amazing how one season can really turn around the luck of a driver. A lot of guys down near the bottom of the point stand. You got K Mathews down there. Carter Friesen, who was wasn't he a 3-time winner, I think, during the playoffs last year? At least a 2-time winner during the playoffs. Zach Rogers, who was in the Final Four for the championship last season. These are drivers that are down outside the top 30 in the points. Vince Almariego, who got his first career win last season. You see him right there in your shot. He's 31st in points. And the driver that's leading this race, Phil Parker. So we got some good battles up here for, looks like 4th, 6th, and 8th. We'll follow those. Also a battle for 10th coming down here into turn 1. We'll see where those battles culminate, as looks like Lopez will be the first one to step out on his teammate for 6th position. Then behind them you've got Mitchell Collins and Carson Gum tussling it out for 8th. Lopez takes the spot. Collins takes the spot. Collins is on the move. But going back to Phil Parker, he's struggling in points. He's 27th in the standings. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s here in the first 14 races of the season. And of course, trying to find victory lane for the first time in his career, his teammate, Jesse Turner, has already been to victory lane twice this year at Pikes Peak and Fuel Motorsports Park. So you got to think that they are culminating all of their efforts over to that 74 team now to try and see if they can get both of the Lake Effect Autosports cars into the playoff system. Looking right now at lap times amongst the top 3, Phil Parker's got the fastest lap, 132.254, then a 132.443 for Cole Deaver. Then you start hitting the 143s when you get back to 3rd place, Benny Watson. I want to see about the lap time. Ooh, Jordan Lopez actually ran a good lap time, 132.036. That's actually faster than the leader ran. And Mitchell Collins, I was wondering about him. He just ran his fastest lap of the race the last time by, 131.930. He might be the fastest car on the track right now. Looking here towards the back, some of your non-charter drivers that had to start towards the rear. You got Dylan Schwallenberg and S Ozkan. Patrick Smith's back here at Chartered Machines. Seth Cole, Justin Dearborn. James Qualls back here, 4th in the standings. Right now, mired back in the 33rd position. There's Harrison Ponder. I believe he is the highest running. No, he is not. Highest running of the non-charter drivers is our non-charter race winner earlier today, Rob Evans. He's now up to the 29th spot, so he's picked up, what, 7 positions? 8 positions since the drop of the green flag. And now working on Levi McIntyre for 28th. Work our way up here through the field. 3-way battle for the 13th position. Dylan Young That's not normally considered a passing area there in turn 7, but Dylan Young made it work. But can he complete the pass on Ryan Acosta? They might have made a little contact there. This is for 15th place currently. And Dylan Young will complete the pass. And you've got to think that a lot of spotters are going to tell their drivers, hey, the two just made a pass over there in turn 7. If you're up close to somebody, you might want to start thinking about using that as a passing area as well. Because we've seen mostly everybody use the entrance to turn 1 as a place to make a pass. But Ryan Acosta is not going away quietly. Pulls back alongside driver's right of Dylan Young, and I think will clear him when they come off the exit of turn 14. Now Dylan Young going to have to try and set him up again here. And into the first corner is Zach Rogers. Puts the pressure on Charles Belding. That is for 18th place. Rogers going to step out of line there. And the Bang Energy Dodge Charger. He'll undoubtedly complete this pass. We've not really seen this entire weekend a driver make a move there in turn 1 that hasn't completed the pass by the time they get over here to turns 3 and 4. And J Gardner now hounding Carson Gum for 12th place. So we got some good battling going on here outside of the top 10. Not really inside of the top 10 though, as Phil Parker 2.5 seconds back to Cole Deaver. Then it's nearly 4 seconds back from Deaver to Benny Watson. Then another 1.5 seconds back to 4th place Adam Garcia. And then another full second back to Jacob Thibodeaux. But again, another thing that we did not mention. We don't know what the fuel window is for these drivers. And we were not able to use the non-charter race to figure that out. They ran 15 laps in the non-charter race and were able to make it the entire way on what they had in the fuel tank. However, as Cole Deaver comes to pit road, I was just going to mention, these drivers here today, for the charter drivers, the charter race, have a smaller fuel cell. So we're going to see these drivers on pit road a little bit more often than you would normally expect, as Benny Watson's on the pit lane now, giving up the 5th position. Jacob Thibodeaux on pit road, Carson Gum, Dylan Young, Charles Sandfer going to pit this lap. K Batson is in. Ryan Butcher is going to pit this time by. So looks like we got about, what, maybe 8 drivers max coming down pit road here on lap 9. And we're going to have to figure out what the furthest these drivers can go, because then we're going to know just how many pit stops these drivers are probably going to have to make. So with Deaver pitting from 2nd, the gap back to 2nd place for Phil Parker is going to be a lot bigger, obviously. Back to Adam Garcia, who now has the 2nd spot. And we'll see if Phil Parker is going to come down pit road this time by. We'll get the indication here after he heads into turn 12. The pit road entrance is just here in turn 13, and he is coming to pit road. So Phil Parker may be giving up the lead for the first time today, depending on what happens with these other drivers behind him. Adam Garcia, does he stay out an extra lap? Nope. He's bringing the PPG paints forward to pit road, as is Jordan Lopez, J Millz. Looks like just about everybody's going to come to pit road here. Does anyone roll the dice and stay out an extra lap? Doesn't look like it. Everybody is pitting. And so we're going to have to see what the difference is going to be from Cole Deaver. Oh, Jessica Shelton is going to stay out an extra lap. So we do have somebody rolling the dice here and stretching it one extra 2.4 miles. As I think everybody else came down pit road. Yeah, everybody else pitted. So Shelton's the only one that's rolling the dice, staying out an extra lap. We'll see how that pans out for her in the closing stages of this race, as Benny Watson finding himself kind of held up by the now lap machine of Matthew Rodriguez. Look at that gaggle of cars on pit road. Kind of wonder if there's going to be any incidents there. As Jordan Lopez exits pit lane, J Millz and others. And what is the gap from Phil Parker back to Cole Deaver? Well, I'll tell you what just happened. Apparently, Phil Parker, somewhere along that pit stop, got some left side damage. You can see it there. Hopefully we get another shot. You can clearly see that the left side, there it is. damage sustained on the Old Spice Mustang, and why that is important, it may not necessarily draw him to pit road right away, but when he does come to pit road, his pit stop is going to be extended with his crew attempting to fix that machine. We're going to have to wait and see. It was, about 3-4 laps till Matthew Rodriguez brought his damaged car down pit road. So what is the goal here for Phil Parker? Is it ride it out with that damage, or is he going to have to come down pit road here and give up the race lead for an unscheduled stop? Looks like he will stay out. Cole Deaver will cycle around to second place. The gap between those two is about 2.5 seconds before the pit stops. We'll see what the gap is this time now. As now Jessica Shelton hits pit road. The tough break for Jessica Shelton was, though, that she stayed out that extra lap, but her pit stall was before the start-finish line, so she did not get credited with a lap-led bonus point. However, in the long run, Jessica Shelton's going to be able to make it a lap further than everybody else, and so depending on what the fuel window really is for these guys, Shelton could be in the catbird seat. We'll have to wait and see. If indeed they end up having to make pit stops, every 11 laps, which is where we're basing it off of Jessica Shelton's pit stop, then I think that everybody's going to be somewhere between 3 to 5 laps short, even if they come to pit road a second time here. I think they're going to have to make 3 pit stops in this race. The gap did not close up for Cole Deaver, despite coming to pit road that extra lap earlier. It's now a little over 4 seconds between himself and Phil Parker. Benny Watson was able to get around the lap machine of Matthew Rodriguez. He's in 3rd. Adam Garcia is 4th. Jordan Lopez right now 5th. Jacob Thibodeaux in 6th. Actually, correction. Matthew Rodriguez is on the lead lap. He's in 5th place, so my apologies on that. He lost the lap when he came to pit road before, but he is currently scored on the lead lap, so don't count this 57 car out just yet. So that means that now 6th is going to be Jordan Lopez, 7th is Jacob Thibodeaux, 8th Jose Millz, 9th will be Mitchell Collins, and V Almariego is going to complete the top 10. Best battle right now is going to be just outside the top 10, 11th place, Matt Haas and Cody Lamas. Apologies there, I was having to answer something. Cody not making that pass there on Matt Haas just yet. Things starting to close up now, though. Matthew Rodriguez, that damage is affecting him. While he did pick up some spots when that green flag pit stop cycle took place, it is hindering his straightaway speed for sure. And now Jordan Lopez, Jacob Thibodeaux, and Jose Millz going to eat him up. As Jose Millz making a pass there in turn 8. Carries it over into turn 10, swings around the outside, and will make the pass. For what will be the 5th position, now Jacob Thibodeaux looking to do the same. Thibodeaux, I'm trying to remember where his first win was last season. I know that he won one of the heat races for the Chili Bowl, as now Matthew Rodriguez is coming back down pit road. This, I think, is a regularly scheduled stop for the 57. I'd be concerned about him, though. I think everybody else has to pit at least twice. He may have to pit 3 times before this race is over, just based on how early he came down pit road before. Who knows, though? Maybe he can stretch it, as Adam Garcia is very quickly closing in on Benny Watson in a battle for 3rd place, but I want to say Thibodeaux's first career win last season was at Las Vegas, and yet there's something in the back of my mind that's saying, no, that's incorrect, so I know he was a 2-time winner, though. That much I do know. Looking back here towards the tail end of the field, and do we have a driver out of the race? I think we have a driver out of the race. Schwallenberg right now is being scored in the 41st position. 42 drivers made the start here. And it's not because Matthew Rodriguez is on pit road. So we got to figure out who that driver is that may be out and what the reasoning is. And I almost wonder if maybe it might be in correlation to the Phil Parker damage. Oh, actually, you know who it might be? It might be William Brock after that front end damage he got in the early portion of this race. And that's exactly who it is. So William Brock in a DNF. 42nd place. So we're getting close for when these drivers have to start coming to pit road again, I would assume. Somewhere around lap, lap 18? 18, 19 is when we would see them come back down pit road, if indeed 9 laps is the furthest they can go. And now you're starting to see that damage on the left side is hindering Phil Parker. The gap has closed up significantly between himself and Cole Deaver. What was about 4+ seconds has now been cut down to less than 2.5. And just in terms of their last speed, their last lap, 132.789 for Phil Parker, and Cole Deaver just ran his fastest lap of the race with a 132.320. Out of curiosity, let's find out who's got the fastest lap of the race. Patrick Smith in the 77 with a 131.478. Remember, he was towards the back of the pack too, so I have to wonder how much draft came into play with that lap time. Dylan Young right now 4/10 slower with his fastest lap of 131.8, along with Adam Garcia. Then Zach Rogers, Mitchell Collins, the top 5. Phil Parker's nowhere on that list. Nor is Cole Deaver. Garcia, Collins, Watson, Lopez, those are drivers that are up inside of the top 10. Cody Lamas just outside of the top 10, along with Dylan Young. Let's find out where our fastest car of the race currently is. That 77 of Patrick Smith. And it looks like he is still mired back here. Right now, 35th place is where he is scored. Battling with his teammate here, Ryan Butcher, for position. Ryan Butcher talked about the fact that this racetrack replaced Pensacola Road Course on the schedule. The very first winner of the Pensacola Road Course was Ryan Butcher, back when he drove the number 24 for Northeast Motorsports, sponsored by 3M that day, if I recall correctly. He would then move over to his own Toyota team of Auto Junction Racing, as he and his teammate Patrick Smith will continue to battle for 34th place there into turns 1 and 2. Butcher completes the pass. Got some non-charter drivers mixing it up back here. 37th right now, S Ozkan. Seth Cole and Justin Dearborn side by side with each other. Dylan Schwallenberg waiting to see how this battle settles itself out. And J Qualls, really surprised to see him running back here. A big reason why as well, not only is he 4th in points coming into this race, but he's a former winner at a road course. That was last season at Pucaca. But not faring so well here today at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. I want to follow up on the 65 of Rob Evans, our non-charter winner. Last time we looked at him, he was, I think, in 29th. He's now picked up another spot since then, up to 28th. And while that may not seem like much when you consider the fact that this car started all the way back in 37th and the pace that he put on in the non-charter event earlier on today, this is a great run for Rob Evans, who is making only his 2nd start of the season in a charter race. Looking at Keith Batson back here, and a thing that's kind of concerning me, I talked about before we went green, the drivers in the point standings that have wins trying to keep themselves ahead of that cut line. Batson came into this race 40 points to the good ahead of that, as he is 22nd in the standings, but right now running in 30th place. I'm a little worried about him dropping more spots in the standings and getting closer and closer to that 30th in the standings cut line. So we'll see if he's able to turn something around here in the second half of this race, to which we are fast approaching. When we get halfway through lap 17, then we will be halfway home Cole Baker. Jack Mitchell second in points. That gap for 22nd was closing up. Jessica Shelton looked like she was trying to enter into this battle as well. Mitchell running 23rd. The driver he's trying to take the points lead away from Dylan Young's running up in 16th. So even though he's not got a dominant car right now, looks like Dylan Young might be doing just enough to keep himself the points leader going into next week. Other drivers that are running ahead of him that are kind of within striking distance in points are not at the front, though. Mitchell Collins, Benny Watson, and Jordan Lopez all running ahead of this two machine, but right now, as Carson Gum is going for a spot on Matt Haas, that's for 12th, and he'll complete the pass. But right now, Collins is running 8th, Lopez is running 7th. He actually just lost a spot there. Did we have some drivers pit? We didn't have some drivers pit. What just happened there? The running order got really shuffled up. And Lopez lost a spot, I guess. And Garcia gained a spot. That was what it was. Garcia got around Benny Watson for 3rd, and Lopez lost a spot to Jose Millz, dropping him back to 6th. But going back to what I was saying there, Collins is in 8th, Lopez now is 6th, and Watson currently is in 4th. So they'll gain points on Dylan Young, but they won't take the points lead from him right now as Benny Watson's coming in. Cole Deaver is in as well. So these were some of the drivers we saw come to pit road first on the first round of pit stops. They're coming down pit road first again. And Cole Deaver was right on the back bumper of Phil Parker there just prior to these pit stops beginning. That last time by, he was less than 0.8 of a second behind him. And we know Phil Parker is probably going to have to spend a little bit of extra time on pit road here on this next pit stop to get damage repaired, as Jacob Thibodeaux and Carson Gum are on pit road this lap. Dylan Young and Charles Sandfer back there as well. Would love to know how Phil Parker got that left side damage. Indianapolis, you would think, is a rather spacious pit road, but it does have that wall separating pit road from the racetrack, so it is only 2 lanes. Can be very congested, and I'm almost thinking probably Phil Parker, who would have had the #1 pit stall as well, let's not forget. Since he started on the pole... Oh, no, he didn't start in the pole position. Where did he start? He started 3rd. So he would have had the #3 pit stall. So it would have been near the front. They must have been double wide coming off pit lane. He pulled out in front of somebody, perhaps. The only other possibility I can think of is maybe he made contact coming out of his pit stall with the driver that started 2nd in this race, which would have been... no, it wasn't Cody Lamas. Who was it? Coming to pit road here is Phil Parker. Would have been Jordan Lopez. And we haven't seen any damage on Jordan Lopez's machine. Would have been with the, right front. Adam Garcia's in. And we got a driver gambling. Jessica Shelton did it on the first round. And a couple of the Blue Oval Automotive cars are going to do it this time. Jose Millz in the 98. And Jordan Lopez in the 38. Vince Almariego rolls the dice and stays out an extra lap as well. So Jose Millz, did he lead that lap though? No, he did not. Phil Parker still led that lap on pit road. And I want to follow this 74 and see just how long this pit stop's going to be. Do they fix the damage on that machine? Zach Rogers staying out. Gonna try and get a good camera angle here on the left side of Phil Parker's car. And yeah, they are fixing the damage. That is an extended stay on pit road for the 74 car. And watch on the bottom of your screen for the 08. There he is. Cole Deaver just went by. As Phil Parker does have a fixed left side, but at the same time, he just lost a couple of spots on pit road to both Cole Deaver and Benny Watson. So now it's going to be the 08 and the 75 who may settle this out. Hold up. Adam Garcia might inherit the race lead actually in the 23 car. Wow. So it looks like Millz, Lopez, Almariego, Rogers, and Shelton, along with Carter Friesen, are the drivers that tried to stretch it the furthest here on this run. And again, you know, some of these guys are going to be about 3 laps short. If these guys here can stretch it a lap each stint, they might be able to make it on 2 more pit stops. Actually, maybe only on 1 more pit stop. I think they could. I honestly think these guys here are within their window where they could make it to lap 28 or 29 and make it the rest of the way. Everybody else would be really close. And Shelton's staying out another lap. So if she can actually complete this lap, there's no doubt in my mind Jessica Shelton's going to be able to make it on only 1 more pit stop. After this upcoming one, I should say. But how does it all cycle around is the big question. Adam Garcia is going to be the new race leader, but he's going to have Cole Deaver on his back bumper, and not too far behind them is that 75 of Benny Watson. Now, the one car I am concerned about still, and I mentioned this earlier, is that 57 of Matthew Rodriguez. He is currently going to cycle around inside of the top 10 here, but we know he's going to be coming to pit road again shortly, and I think he's still got 2 more pit stops in his future, whereas most of these other drivers only have the 1. Maybe a couple of these drivers have 2, as J Millz came out ahead of Benny Watson. So Millz, rolling the dice, going that extra lap. He's actually going to cycle around to 3rd. It'll be Garcia the leader, Deaver in 2nd, 3rd for Millz, 4th for Watson, and Jordan Lopez will be 5th. So pit road is playing a factor into shuffling positions, as it's given us now our 3rd race leader. Well, actually, is it our 3rd? Yeah, it would be our 3rd, because J Millz led the last lap. Phil Parker's led every lap up to that point. J Millz led the last lap. And now Adam Garcia will come around unless Cole Deaver has thoughts about that top spot. He drove it awfully deep there into turn 12. And he's getting a run. Heading into the final turn, he's going to peek to the inside, so is Garcia going to lead this lap? Deaver close to that right rear quarter panel. Imagine if this was the finish. Look at this drag race down the front straightaway as Garcia's just going to edge ahead. There's Shelton on pit road. Now Shelton is going to have to pit at least 1 more time as well. But she won't have to pit until as late as maybe lap 30. And Cole Deaver is going to take the race lead away from Adam Garcia, who was able to lead that lap. Cole Deaver, was it 5 weeks ago, picked up his first career win in the Duracell Cup Series at Darlington, and now he's looking to join T Wright and Mitchell Collins and Jesse Turner as a multi-time winner here in Season 4. So not wanting to wait at all to get his 2nd career win. We still got that one final pit stop coming up, and Deaver was amongst some of the drivers that came in the earliest on both the 1st and 2nd round of pit stops, so he is going to be super close on fuel, depending on when he comes in. J Millz did cycle to 3rd, but Benny Watson got around him, so moved Watson back up into the podium. And there's the 57 of Matthew Rodriguez, who I think is probably going to have to pit this time. And this will not be his final pit stop of the day either. Everything really got thrown off sequence for Matthew Rodriguez when he had to come to pit road really early in this race. And, yep, here he comes to pit road. There's Phil Parker, the former leader, who led the first 18, 19 laps of this race. But because of a pit road miscue and contact on pit road, an extended stay now finds him mired back in the 6th position. I want to talk about a driver that really has used pit road to his benefit. How about Ryan Acosta? He's now up inside of the top 10, is up ahead of him. You got a battle here for 7th. V Almariego takes it from Mitchell Collins. Thibodeaux going to hang on to the 9th spot. But Acosta right now is in 10th. Not scored 10th because Matthew Rodriguez crossed the line in 10th on pit road that last time by, but Ryan Acosta, last time he went to victory lane, Season 2 at Martinsville, which was the only win he needed that year in order to, through the rest of the season, consistency, win the championship. And V Almariego, I'm trying to remember last season where his first career win was at. And it's not coming to me. Maybe Texas? But I don't, off the top of my head, remember. So as Cole Deaver shows the way, and these drivers now start to get themselves prepared to strategize for when that final trip to pit road is going to be. Take a look ahead on the schedule here for these drivers. Heading down the home stretch, if you will, towards the playoffs. Next week, we're at the concrete monster mile of Dover. That track has always played a factor into a driver making the playoffs. Then we go to the under the lights race at Kansas. And then we go to Chicago Motor Speedway. That track is a lot of fun. Chicago Motor Speedway to me is just basically if you took a super speedway, condensed it down. Because we see double, three-wide racing several rows deep there. Another of those wild card races, if you will. And then we go up to the Northeast, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, which last couple of seasons, in my opinion, New Hampshire always seems to be one of those boring tracks, but it has not been boring here in the Duracell Cup Series. Back in Season 2, we saw Levi McIntyre pick up his first career win. The season before that, if I recall correctly, it was hometown boy, Austin LaPlante, taking the checkered flag. So, got some good tracks coming up here on the schedule as we draw closer and closer to figuring out those 16 drivers that will be battling for a spot in the playoffs. And right now, if your drivers up there like Jack Mitchell, James Qualls, Jordan Lopez, Benny Watson, Carson Gum, who don't have wins this season but are up inside the top 10 in points, you're hoping that the situation that's been taking place for the last couple of weeks continues on. Drivers going to victory lane for multiple wins. Yes, you are going to lose ground to them when the playoff points are all reformatted, but at the same time, more multiple winners means more possible spots open for drivers to point their way in. Had Jesse Turner win the last race of the first half of the regular season as we're watching this battle for third. J Millz and Benny Watson. Looks like Millz will have the advantage into turn 1. And then last week we had Mitchell Collins go to victory lane for the second time this season. Well, right now with Cole Deaver and Adam Garcia both running in first and second, those are two former winners from this year. So if they both, either one of them go to victory lane, that is again going to still keep the door open for drivers to point their way in. Right now, we have, I believe, 12. I have to double check here. We have 9. That can't be right. 10. I'm sorry. We had 10 drivers that have won this season that are inside the top 30 in points that would take playoff positions. So 6 spots right now open. We still have that question mark about Chris Dollerton. If he can make 3 more regular season chartered main event starts, that'd be another spot taken. But I mean, if we assume that he will make those other 3 starts, then that's 5 spots open for drivers to point their way in. Now, the other thing, though, is after today's race, we've still got 11 more races in the regular season. So, what did I say? 5 spots open. There's every possibility that we're going to have maybe 11 different race winners after this. And so we're going to have drivers with wins that are going to miss out on spots in the playoffs. And that's a case of what we saw last season. Talked about it with Benny Watson. Was the most consistent driver. If he had ended up winning a race, he would have had the bonus points going into the playoffs for the regular season championship. He was that consistent, but he just couldn't find victory lane. So because he didn't have a win, he was atop the point standings, but did not make it into the postseason. Trying to see if we can find ourselves a battle here inside of the top 10, and might be the battle for 10th. Last year, a rookie in Jacob Thibodeaux. Now in his second full-time season with Northeast Motorsports, he's trying to hold off the single-car entry. Well, I should say one of the entries out of Haas Racing, since they expanded to a 2-car team this season, adding rookie Brad Stover, who's a non-charter driver. But that gap is opened up. Maybe a battle here. Either Phil Parker trying to get Jordan Lopez for what would be 5th, or Vince Almariego trying to reel in Phil Parker for what would be the 6th position. And Deaver's the race leader, and we know he's going to be one of the earlier ones to pit road because he was on the first and second cycle of green flag pit stops. And if my calculations are right, we're going to be seeing him come down pit road somewhere in the next 3 laps. Lap 28 max, I think, is the furthest that Cole Deaver can go. Now, what about some of those other drivers that gained position with staying out? The guys I'm looking at in particular are J Millz in the 98, and Jordan Lopes in the 38. What can they possibly gain here on this final pit stop? One thing I know, they'll be able to take on less fuel, so that could be less time spent on pit road, but if they end up taking 4 tires, then that's going to cancel that out completely. R Acosta continuing to march his way up through the top 10. Now takes 8th place away from Mitchell Collins. The other driver I want to check on is Jessica Shelton. As Zach Rogers, he and Dylan Young going to battle for 15th. Give it to the 6. There's Shelton. Right now she is in 20th. She just took the spot from T Wright. I don't know if she's high enough right now to capitalize on the strategy she's had. She's done a tremendous job of fuel saving here today. Has made it the furthest here on the 2 long green flag runs, separated by the pit stops of any other driver in the field. So we'll see where this situates her. She will probably not be down pit road until around lap 31, but I don't think anybody can make it to the conclusion of this race without coming to pit road at least one more time. And I believe fuel window is open to make it the rest of the way, and as soon as I say that, here comes Cole Deaver to pit road. So the fuel window is indeed open. It was going to be 9 laps to go when Cole Deaver came around to hit the line, and that's about the target lap we've seen drivers kind of split this into, as Benny Watson's on pit road as well. So now the ball is in the court of Adam Garcia in the 23, Jose Millz in the 98, and Jordan Lopes in the 38. What can they do against Cole Deaver? Deaver with that number 1 pit stall. Started on pole, but got taken 3 wide into turn 1 at the beginning of this race. Had to rely on pit stops to work his way up to the race lead. It took him until around lap 20 before we actually saw our pole sitter lead his first lap. Nice clean pit stop as he's down and away. Benny Watson leaving as well. And just ahead of Cole Deaver there is Jesse Turner and our non-charter winner Rob Evans. That was a 26th place battle going on. Of course, that would be updated if we knew where they were at the time of those drivers that came to pit road. There were about 6 or 7 that were on pit road that last lap, so that probably would have been a battle maybe for around the 20th spot. As Adam Garcia, let's see if he pits this time. Yes, he will, but Jose Millz stays out. No surprise there. I think he and Jordan Lopes, they'll stay out at least one more lap. Phil Parker's in this time. Vince Almariego is going to stay out an extra lap in the 42. Acosta, Collins, M Haas, they're coming in. J Gardner, just outside of the top 10. He's in pit road. Zach Rogers stays out an extra lap in the 6. Jack Mitchell, second in points, is in. Shelton's going to stay out an extra lap, obviously. I think we're going to see her stay out 2 extra laps, to be honest. And everybody else, Carter Friesen also staying out in the 37. And there is Cole Deaver, who actually is about to lap the 37 of Carter Friesen. Friesen's just now hitting the start-finish line. Deaver's coming out of the final corner. There you see him in the same shot. Has Carter Friesen got damage? Let's watch carefully here, see if we can get a look at the back end of that Wendy Chevrolet, because it almost looks like he may have had the back end pushed in. Well, maybe not. Might just been a bad shot that I looked at when he was over in turns 10 and 11. And I think Carter Friesen last season had a win at a road course. Wasn't he the Lime Rock winner? I've seen a lot of our former winners at road courses in the past 2 seasons really struggling here today at the Indianapolis road course. Garcia got out ahead of Cole Deaver again. But race leader is still the 98, who is on pit road now. Lopes is in, Vince Almariego. So what about Zach Rogers and Jessica Shelton? Rogers, I think, is going to pit this time. Shelton might stay out an extra lap here. Rogers is in. I think Shelton can go one more extra lap, and she will. So Jessica Shelton's going to spend the least amount of time on pit road. That we know for certain. And I want to follow some of these guys here on pit road. Looks like they are getting the tank full of fuel. Going around on the right side for V Almariego. Same for Zach Rogers. Do they go to the left sides, or is it two-tire pit stop? Two-tire pit stop, right sides only for these guys. So they didn't have to spend as much time on pit road. And is Millz going to come out ahead of Deaver? He is. Was that the race-winning move for J Millz? We'll have to wait and see. He's got Cole Deaver breathing right down his neck, though, as Deaver was able to get around Adam Garcia for what at the time was looking like was going to be the race lead. But now Millz is out ahead of Deaver and has a little bit fresher right side tires than Cole Deaver does. But the question I have as well, when Cole Deaver came to pit road and the pit window was open, he would have had to have filled the tank up, so did he put on 4 fresh tires against the 2 fresh right sides of J Millz? Obviously, with that closing right there, it looks like Deaver is much faster than the 98. But can J Millz hold him off is the question. J Millz coming into this race 16th in points. Last week at Charlotte was not his best performances. Wow! He lost a ton of ground there coming out of turn 11, and now Cole Deaver and Adam Garcia are right there on his back bumper. They're wadded up for the race lead, and look at the bite that Cole Deaver is able to get there through the corner of turn 14. He's going to move J Millz up the track, dead even heat to the start-finish line, and J Millz, I think, is a sitting duck. Now it looks like it's going to come down between Deaver and Garcia potentially for this win. And look at Garcia. Not only going for second there on J Millz, but looking for the race lead from Cole Deaver. Can't do it. Deaver drove it deep into turn 1. He'll pull away by about 4, make it 5 car lengths over Adam Garcia. And now the strongest car of the day, who has not fallen outside of the top 3 really this entire time. Really has not fallen outside of the top 2 for pretty much this entire race. Back out in front, and there'll be 5 to go next time by. Going back, though, to the situation of J Millz, he finds himself from first back to third, but he dropped 8 spots in the standings after Charlotte last week to 16th. He's the most winningest driver in the Duracell Cup Series, and I thought maybe he was going to add to that total here today, but looks like that's not going to be the case. As Deaver is the race leader, Garcia second, Millz is now third, Lopes in fourth, Benny Watson back to fifth, Phil Parker is sixth, V Almariego in seventh, 8th, Mitchell Collins. 9th is R Acosta. And looks like now 10th is going to be Jacob Thibodeaux. 11th, J Gardner. 12th, Carson Gum. 14th, M Haas. 15th. Make that 13th, rather. Wait, hold on. Am I getting this right? I might be getting this wrong. Let's wait till they cross the start-finish line. I'll try that again back outside of the top 10. I think I got mixed up because Jessica Shelton was scored in 8th, but she hit pit road, so we're waiting for everything to update here. But it is now 5 laps to go here at the Indy Road Course. Now they cross the line. Let's see if we can drop back here to the top 10 and get you the correct running order. So Thibodeaux is in 10th. As you see the battle behind him. For 11th, Carson Gum and J Gardner. Looks like Carson Gum easily going to take that spot, so drop Gardner from 11th back to 12th. Carson up to 11th place. M Haas has got some damage. He's going to have to try and ride this out to the finish. That was undoubtedly from on pit road during that last cycle of pit stops. Right now he's in 13th, Zach Rogers 14th, and Cody Lamas in 15th. Jessica Shelton, that strategy has moved her up to 16th place. Jack Mitchell in 17th, 18th, the points leader Dylan Young. So that's your top 2 in points right there, nose to tail in 17th and 18th. Charles Sandfer is 19th, and T Wright, our Daytona 500 winner this season, 2-time winner, he's right now in 20th. 21st is Cole Baker, 22nd, Nathan Ormond. Rob Evans up to 23rd. Great performance there, picking his way through the field after starting towards the rear for our non-charter winner earlier today. 2-time winner Jesse Turner right now is in 24th. 25th, Charles Belding. 26th is Carter Friesen. 27th is Ryan Brommer. 28th, Austin LaPlante. 29th, Levi McIntyre. He just lost a ton of spots there. 30th is Justin Dearborn. 31st, S Ozkan. 32nd, Patrick Smith. 33rd, Seth Cole. 34th, Michael Norman. We haven't mentioned him at all today. He's been struggling. 35th, Keith Batson. Ryan Butcher back here in 37th. 38th, Harrison Ponder. He's now under fire from Dylan Schwallenberg, who's in 38th position. Matthew Rodriguez back here in 39th after his early struggles. 40th is J Qualls. And 41st place is about to go a lap down. That is a teammate to race leader Cole Deaver, Kyle Mathews in the 09. Deaver right now has a 2-second gap back to Adam Garcia, and it is visibly closing because Cole Deaver is having difficulties getting around his S3 Motorsports teammate. And Kyle's not getting out of the way. Deaver having to check up again there to avoid running in the back of the Kings Island Chevrolet. Kyle Mathews, a teammate to Cole Deaver, might be costing Cole a chance at his second win of the season. Let's see what happens here. Deaver's going to drive it deep to the inside going into turn 12. And looks like he will be able to complete the pass this time. Garcia's not going to waste any moment as well. He's going to try and get around that 09 as he now has a shot maybe at getting this race win away from Cole Deaver. 2 seconds was the gap last time by, and after all the adventures of trying to make their way around Kyle Mathews, the gap is now closed to less than a second. This also potentially brought J Millz back into the picture, but with just the 2 fresh right side tires, not sure if he would have been able to capitalize on that. 4th place close. Benny Watson and Jordan Lopez. Nothing doing there. Phil Parker ran a defensive line to stop Vince Almariego from having thoughts about 6th. And then they're wadded up from 8th place on back. Mitchell Collins, Ryan Acosta looking for the spot. He opened the door. Jacob Thibodeaux right there as well. Collins and Acosta really today have been the two that have maybe passed the most race cars from where they started to where they are eventually going to finish, and Ryan's going to take 8th place. Nice pass there. That was over in turn 6. Another place that we really haven't seen as a passing area today. Carson Gum just ran his fastest lap of the race with 2.5 to go. As he's right now in 11th, trying to get up into the top 10 here. Trying to get around that 33 of Jacob Thibodeaux. Now the gap looks like it has either maintained or maybe grown a little between Cole Deaver and Adam Garcia. I think Garcia's best chance was to keep Cole Deaver stuck behind Kyle Mathews. But now that Deaver's gotten free into clean air again, he is pulling away. See what the gap interval is this time, and it opened by another 0.4. And I'm pretty sure that everybody is good to make it on fuel. Cole Deaver was one of the first to make his final pit stop, and it was right at the fuel window of 9 to go. So I think all these drivers can make it on fuel. It's now up to them on whether they finish where they are or maybe pick up a position or two here in the final 2 laps of this race. How about Cole Deaver, though? Deaver was strong last year in his rookie season when S3 Motorsports decided to expand to a 4-car team. Several times I thought Deaver might be able to pick up his first career win, but just wasn't quite able to close the deal out. And then this season we saw Darlington Raceway for the 4th time give us a first-time winner. And now Cole Deaver looking to join the likes of T Wright, Jesse Turner, and Mitchell Collins as a multi-time winner. He's looking to actually be the first non-Ford driver to have multiple wins this season. We've talked about the dominance of the blue ovals. And of all places, Cole Deaver's going to do it at a road course. He had to tame the Lady in Black for his first career win earlier on this season. And now a track that none of these drivers have been to in a Duracell Cup Series race, with the exception of those 6 non-charter drivers who tackled this track earlier on today. Cole Deaver looks like he may be going coast to coast. As you see, the flagman had the white flag in the air. 1 more lap to go, and a very manageable 2.2 seconds from Deaver back to Adam Garcia. Cole Deaver has also been very consistent during this season as well. Not only with finding victory lane, but he's got 4 top 5s and 5 top 10s. So pretty much if he finishes inside the top 10, he's going to be up there inside of the top 5 pretty much as far as statistics are concerned. Average finishing position of around 18th place. And coming off momentum of a great performance last week at Charlotte as well, which gained him 8 spots in the standings, moving him from 17th up to 8th, or make that 9th in points. And he will continue to climb in the point standings here today. With his win at Darlington, he was already locked into the playoffs with where he is in the point standings, but this will solidify it, and it will put him tied with Turner, Collins, and Wright for the number 1 seed. It may now come down between those 4 drivers as to who's going to get a 3rd win and take the number 1 seed completely solely for themselves. But Cole Deaver, through 12, 13, and 14 for the final time. How about this? Debut race in the Duracell Cup Series, and Cole Deaver is going to pick up his 2nd career win in 4 races here in the Duracell Cup Series in the Indy Grand Prix. Garcia will get 2nd rather. Millz in 3rd, 4th for Watson. Phil Parker was able to get 5th from Jordan Lopez. Lopez gets 6th. Almariego, Ryan Acosta, there is Jacob Thibodeaux, and Carson Gum crosses, completing the top 10. Waiting for the rest of the field across the start-finish line here. As a lot of them were way back, so we're not going to know the official finishing results just yet. J Qualls there in the 54 was maybe a couple corners away from going a lap down, so we have to wait until he gets around to figure out who finishes where. But Cole Deaver, bit of an adventurous day for him. He did start on the pole position, but he didn't even lead the first lap. He got taken 3 wide into turn 1 by Phil Parker. Reeled Phil Parker in after the first round of pit stops since Phil had some damage. Took the race lead back. Then he found himself behind Adam Garcia after the second round of pit stops. Took the race lead back. Then after the final round of pit stops, found himself behind J Millz, but he took the race lead back and never let it go. I believe this is also, I would have to go back and look, but I believe this is the first time in the history of S3 Motorsports that a driver has been a multi-time winner. Sandfer, Shelton, or Mathews, I do not believe has been a multi-time winner in the past 3 Duracell Cup Series seasons. They've been to victory lane, but never multiple times, I don't think, in a single season. Could be incorrect in that, but at least not anything springing to my mind right now, the forefront of my mind of them being multi-time winners. So Cole Deaver may have just set an S3 record right there, and being the first driver to get multiple wins in a single season for that team. He just crossed the start-finish line there, so the standings have to be official at this point. And they are. We gave you your top 10. Let's go further down. Mitchell Collins, after his 2nd win of the season last week, he's going to get 11th. Matt Haas in 12th. Johnny Gardner 13th. Zach Rogers 14th. 15th for Cody Llamas. We saw Jessica Shelton try a little bit of outside-the-box strategy. She was able to stretch it the furthest of anybody on all of those green flag runs separated by the pit stop. She'll get 16th. Picked up a lot of spots from where she started. Dylan Young, the points leader, in 17th. I think he still will keep the points lead. Only driver that really is going to cut into that points lead here today, I think, would be Jordan Lopez, and he was 42 points back. So Dylan will have the points lead cut down, but I think he still will keep it going into Dover next week. Charles Sanford, Jack Mitchell, and Trey Wright will complete the top 20. Mitchell will, I think, lose a couple of points to Dylan Young. He'll be 30 points back heading into the Monster Mile. Drivers that struggled here today, though, as you look further down, a lot of these were due to poor starting track position. But how about Rob Evans? 23rd, started 37th, picked up 14 spots during the course of this race. Good run there for that rookie. Drivers that really struggled here today, though, they're going to drop in the point standings. Guys like Levi McIntyre, Carter Friesen, Patrick Smith, Austin LaPlante, Keith Batson way back here, Ryan Butcher, Michael Norman. And, of course, Matthew Rodriguez had that early damage when he got spun around and got hit by William Brock, who we see is the only DNF driver. J Qualls nearly finished a lap down. He was 4th in points, so he's going to drop in the standings here today, finishing 40th, and Kyle Mathews was the only driver running that finished off the lead lap, getting passed by his teammate Cole Deaver with about 3 laps to go. Not a bad debut race here for the Indy Grand Prix, though. Green flag racing all the way through. A lot of lead changes, a lot of pit strategy that led to those lead changes. But Cole Deaver, the strongest car of the day in both qualifying and in race trim, is able to close out the deal going coast to coast here in the very first Indy Grand Prix. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe to become a part of the crew today. We have shown your full finish results, and these are what your point standings look like heading into next week at Dover International Raceway. That track always seems to be a strategic race as well, always seems to be a wild card race. It's a lot of different drivers in the past 3 seasons that have gone to victory lane that have then gone on to make it into the playoffs and be factors there. We'll see if lightning is going to strike again as far as Season 4 is concerned. But Cole Deaver, with the win here today, becomes the 4th multi-time winner on the season and gets his 2nd career win in only the past 4 races. Congratulations to him. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week at Dover as you've been watching a production of the NSCRA, offline racing at its best.